Hi, I'm Philip from the HANA Academy. In this series of videos, we're looking at the SAP Web IDE. In this video, we're going to run the application that we created in the previous video. Remember, we used Web IDE, the create new project from template, to point to our OData service, and then we specified what we wanted where, and it built as a project. So now we can see we've got a products project, and either we can select the index HTML, or if you just select the project name, the main root folder name effectively, go to the run on the toolbar or use Alt F5, and it will actually ask you, typically you'd select index HTML if it prompted you. Here we go, it's saying do you want to run the index or the local index? So let's go with index.html. And it will log you on to the testing environment, the test running environment. And now we get into the little console we can use for running the applications. Now, this is more than simply running the application in UI5. We'll see in a minute there's some really great developer-friendly features here. So the first thing we can see, well, we've got our app. And if we scroll it a bit, we see we've got the different product names coming from our OData source with the price. We've got milk, we've got Vint soda. And when we click on one on the left, you see that we've got a description and the discontinued date and the ID on the right in this attributes section. And we've got a second tab area that's currently empty. We've got the ability to search. So if we want to search, for example, on punch or something, then we should be able to find that. It finds us fruit punch. So there's a lot of functionality already built into this out of the box, and we didn't have to write one line of code. We've got the core of a Fiori application. Now, what's quite nice about these Fiori apps, and particularly when you're working with HTML5 and UI5, is that we're creating what's known as responsive apps, in that these apps respond to the kind of user interface that you're working with. Are you working on a desktop, on a tablet, such as an iPad? Are you working with a mobile phone, for example, an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever kind of phone? So the application should respond to the way the user interface is laid out and adapt automatically. So you only have to write the code once in JavaScript and HTML, typically a lot of it written for you by Web IDE, but you can then deploy it and run it actually from any of those devices without having to manually optimize for your application the look and feel for each one of those devices. So we can see here we're running actually with medium. But if we were to go to large, we could see more of a desktop orientation. So we see it filling the screen, but again, we've got the same kind of functionality. If we went to small, here we can see actually something that's a little bit more like a mobile phone. We can simulate, we're actually running it from a phone, but we can simulate how it would work. And we see here it's been responsive. It hasn't got space to show the master and detail in this very much portrait mode screen resolution. So what we can do is when we select, for example, milk, you see that it does a scroll across. We can actually then select the items and we get a little arrow up at the top. So we see the application is responding based on the user interface that we've specified. What we can also do in here is you see we can refresh. So if we're actually developing, we make some changes in Web IDE in the code, save it. We don't have to go back to the run option. We can just come back to our preview area, hit refresh, and it will update based on the latest code. And if we want, we can change the orientation. For example, again, now we've got a different resolution size, but we've said now orientation, we're now in more portrait mode, or click it again, it should toggle back to the more landscape mode. Now, we haven't done it in this app yet, but UI5 is very well suited to developing in multilingual applications. So for example, you've got English, French, and German specified in your app, then you can actually test the different language versions without having to load up a web browser that actually has the language settings to the one you want to test. So again, a nice time saver. And the final option here on the top right, you'll see we have this little what looks like a QR code. And if you click it, it means that it will actually show you a code which links to this application, so that if you want to point at your own mobile device and basically scan this QR code, you can actually get in and start testing this app without having to click the URL and then email it to yourself and click on that, etc. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to connect my iPhone. So let me just turn on the mirroring. So now we can see my phone. So I've actually got a scanning app. So what I'm going to do is scan this QR code. So I'll go and scan the QR code. Now it's actually going up, and you'll need to log in, or you'll get an auto login if you're using single sign-on. And it will basically take that application and run it on your local device. So now we can see on my iPhone, I've got the bread, and if I click on it, now you'll see if I touch it, I can navigate, and I've got that button at the top. And this is nicely optimized for being on an iPhone. I can scroll up and down, etc. What I can also do, of course, is turn it. If I turn it sideways, we now see it's the app, and I've got the same look and feel. So you can see it's responsive and it's adapting. So I can actually test this on a real device very, very easily, very quickly, and in a very straightforward way when I'm actually working with Web IDE. So that covers how we can easily test using this preview option that's available as part of SAP Web IDE.